Hello, and welcome to my video on connecting to your Amazon EC2 instance. The EC2 instance is a server that you use for your projects. I use an EC2 instance to host my website, so it's a web server, and I connected my Route 53 domain to the instance as well. So I don't have to type in a long host name, I just type in binarygraphy.com. And as you saw in my previous video, I was able to connect to the website and display many cool things. For example, this is all I type in, binarygraphy.com, and this is the website I'm actually hosting using Amazon AWS. Connecting to the instance is actually as simple as opening up PowerShell and using a command. So now I'm connected to the backend. In other words, I'm in the actual instance itself, and you can tell because the host name is compute-1.amazonaws.com, and this is the public IP DNS. So I just connected to my instance on Amazon AWS. But there's some setup that needs to be done to make it this simple, and I'm going to walk you through those steps. The very first step is creating a private key. This right here that I just highlighted is the file that is the private key, and it's a password. You don't want to share this with absolutely anyone. It should be for your access only. You use this in order to connect to the instance. Anyone with this file can connect to the instance and do whatever they want, and you don't want that. This private key is generated when you create the EC2 instance. If you are unable to save this private key, you are going to have some trouble accessing your instance, and it's going to be very annoying. So make sure to save it somewhere safe. In order to obtain this, we're going to go ahead and go to aws.amazon.com, sign into the console. Once there, go to EC2, and we're going to create an instance just to show you what it's like from the very first step. So we're going to launch an instance. I'm going to call this one my test instance. Now you could obviously call it whatever you want, and for demonstration purposes we're going to use Amazon Linux. You could use Ubuntu, Windows, anything you want, but Amazon Linux is part of the free tier, which is over here, and it means that your first year, you get basically this instance for free as long as you follow the specs, which are over here essentially. So scrolling down, see, this is the important part, the key pair. Everything else you could leave the same. Well, everything else except the key pair and the security group. We're going to talk about that in a second. So the key pair. You're going to need to create a key pair for your instance. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to call this my test key pair. Make sure to choose RSA for compatibility. You can choose ED25519, but it isn't compatible with some operating systems. Make sure to use PEM for compatibility as well. So we create the key pair, and this is the private key I have right here. So I'm going to make sure to store this in a very secure folder. It's automatically in my downloads folder, but I don't want that, so I'm going to move that. Next is the security group. In order to access your instance from any IP, you're going to need to create a security group. So you can do that or select an existing security group if you've already done so, but you'll have to create a security group to choose this option anyways. Allow SSH traffic from anywhere, and that will allow you to connect to your instance. In other words, you don't need to choose these options unless you're hosting a web server, but this is out of the scope of this video. So you can keep that the same and keep everything else the same. So we're going to launch the instance now. It's doing its thing. And that's going to show right here when we go back to instances. You can see that right now it's not updated. So I refreshed it and now it's initializing. So we're going to give it a few minutes. It's going to take like up to maybe 2 to 5 minutes for it to initialize. In the meantime, you can store your private key somewhere safe. So I refreshed it. You can see a few minutes passed and now my instance is running and the health checks are passed. So the next step is to gain some information. We already have the private key, but we need the IPv4 DNS, the public one. This is something you should keep private unless you make intentions to display your server to the public, like a web server. Otherwise, if it's something that you're going to use only for yourself, make sure to not share this with anyone, or people will try to access it. So we're going to, once again, open up PowerShell. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to do SSH -I. What that means is we're going to have to provide a file. And that file is going to be your private key. So the private key location is something that you can gain just by going to show more options and properties. And then here, I have the location. So this is only the folder, okay? So what that means is that you're going to have to copy that here, and then you're going to have to add the actual name of the private key. In this case, if we go back, we look and see it was my test key pair.pem. So I'm going to do that. Then the next thing is going to be your public IPv4 address, which is right here. So then we go back here, copy that there, and now we have this prompt, the authenticity, blah, blah, blah. Well, not really blah, blah, blah. Basically, you're connecting to a server and its fingerprint is this. In other words, this is what the server's identity is. So how do you verify that you're connecting to the actual server? Well, most of the time it's going to be something you don't have to check. But if you do, you go to Actions, Monitor and Troubleshoot, and then Get System Log. So here you can see the fingerprints. This is telling you the actual server's identity. And if we go back to PowerShell, this is a ED25519 key fingerprint. Let's make sure that it matches. So just by looking and comparing, you can see that they're the same. Therefore, you just type in yes. Now it's added the host name to the list of known hosts. So now I can try again to connect. And then it says permission denied. So this is going to be our first issue. Why was it denied? Well, it turns out it's denied because I didn't supply a username. If you don't supply a username, it'll use your actual computer username as default. And it tried to use Queen. That's not the one. Instead, it's EC2-user. And so over here, we're going to type in EC2-user at. Now it's going to work. And there you go. I'm connected to my instance. So that's basically as simple as it gets. I just need the private key because it's my password. I just need the public IPv4 DNS address. And I just need to verify that I'm connecting to the right server by using the fingerprint comparison. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a like by clicking the like button. Also make sure to subscribe for more videos like this on AWS. And leave a comment if you have something to say about the video or want me to demonstrate something as well. I'll see you on the next one.